Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Dream Factory Strategy. This is a real talk roadmap to making it happen. Now, you're here because you're thinking about what could come next. And maybe it's just boosting the life that you have. Maybe there's some thought into what you want it to change into. But either way, you're here to dream. And oftentimes, I imagine what you're thinking about is no time. There is no time to think about what I want. There's no time to create this positive change for me. There's no time to dream bigger. There's too much going on. There's absolutely no time for that. Somehow the days always just slip away from me. But here's the thing. The problem isn't time. A study was done of 35,000 Americans around their time. And what we learned from that study is that when you have more discretional time, that does not equal well-being. More discretional time does not equal well-being. Studies have shown, let's say you think, oh, you know what? I need all of this extra time. And in this extra time, I'm going to hang out with my friends. And that is going to change everything for me. Well, guess what? You do that. And then what happens? You spend that time with your friends and it plateaus. So why does it plateau? Because there's not intention behind it. The real deal breaker here is when you put intention behind your time. So it doesn't matter that you have 10 minutes, 2 hours, 5 hours, 15 hours. It doesn't matter. It matters what you do with it and the intention you have and how you're choosing to spend that time. So no, when we're thinking about dreaming bigger, time is not an issue. But the real problem is actually what's happening in your head. It is the negative noise that's getting in the way. And this is how we're wired. That's the thing. So I want to start by letting you know that it's not your fault. 80% of our thoughts are negative. So we are naturally thinking negative in everything that we do, which means that everyone around us is doing the same. The messages that are coming our way are the exact same. So being positive and dreaming bigger is actually kind of radical. It's the opposition to what you experience all the time and what comes naturally to our bodies. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be a radical choice. I'm Jackie Roby. I'm a relationship mindset coach. And if you see on this slide or Google my name or look at my LinkedIn, you'll see my credentials. You'll see what it's like to be around me and all of those good things. But what I think is the most important thing for you to know is that I'm a Latina who has experienced depression, anxiety, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. About 17 years ago, I fell into my first depression, and it was riddled with panic and paranoia. It would take me 3 hours to send a 2-sentence email. One of the darkest, most painful times of my life. Getting out of that is one of the proudest moments, and continuing to do the work, continuing to do the healing. About 5 years later, I met the love of my life. Sparkles, right? Shooting stars, magic. Everything felt so good. It had all come to this. Finally, I was at this place to meet this person I wanted to spend my life with. And a few months in, he came to my place and said, Jackie, every time I come here, it's like going to a funeral. He said, you're not happy. And if you've ever met me, I look happy. I am a great smiler. I grew up with toxic positivity. I had to smile. I'd overcome all these things. And I thought, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? I've overcome all these things. I continue to do the work. I'm here. I've met you. I'm in love. How could this be true? That feedback from him, my now husband, terrified me, absolutely terrified me. And for 2 reasons. Number one, how could I not see it? With how great I was at self-reflection at that point and awareness and focusing on my mental health. But what I didn't realize was I wasn't focusing on my mental wellness. And the second thing that terrified me was I just met this man. I've fallen in love. And the last thing in the world I want is for everything to fall apart because of me. because something is happening that I could potentially create change around. So how do I do that? It was at that point that I started to learn and create change. And those are the tools that you're going to learn today. So what you're going to learn is how to identify the negative noise and what to do with it. Ways to define your dream. I put this caveat around because we lost sight of what it's like to dream. Somewhere along the way, we stopped dreaming. And what likely happened is we were shut down at some point in our life. We were told we couldn't. It wasn't logical. And that was really unfair. As a person of color, you know that the world has told us what we can and can't be. And without representation, it's really difficult. As a woman, the world has told us what we're supposed to dream about. And that's really difficult. But I'm here to give you your dreams back. So we're going to find some ways to define that. And then we're going to talk about how to create your own dream factory. So you hear this word and you're like, what in the world is a dream factory? Well, the dream factory, this is a special place that we activate within you. In this place, you have possibility. It's one of my favorite words. Just think about it for 1 second. Possibility. It is uninterrupted dreaming. Now, I don't look at defining dreams as saying, what did you want to be when you were a child? That's not always easy for everyone. I wanted to be famous. That doesn't help. But think about how that felt as a kid when you were dreaming. In the dream factory, you could be that 5-year-old that said, I want to be a Care Bear. And maybe an adult looked at you and said, oh, Care Bear. And you went, yep, hands on your hips, stomach out. You were ready. You got Care Bear skits there, ready to go, right? And you felt it in you like, I am a Care Bear. That is coming. That is the kind of confidence and good feeling that you get in the dream factory. It's possibility. And that's what we're going to do together. So what we want to do now is we want to start by identifying the noise. What's happening? What is that negative nonsense that's going on? So I want to tell you a little bit about your brain and how it works. We have the survivor part of our brain, which is the most advanced, the most evolved part of the brain. It's lasted the longest. And in there is the default mode network. So the default mode network is where the majority of your inner dialogue takes place. It is located near the amygdala. That's where your fight, flight, freeze, appease reactions live. So think about that for a second. The moderator of your life is hanging out next to the panic button all day long. So here you are thinking, I want to do this round the world trip. I want to take a year sabbatical and I want to go live in different countries. That sounds like an amazing dream to me. And your brain is going, nope, 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 nope. Nobody's going to hire you after that. Your family is going to judge you for this. Are you trying to be a bad parent? Every single negative thought that could happen is going to pop up because it was designed to. And as we look at the brain, there's 10 negative factors, and all of those, guess what, live in this space, just ready and armed. But there's 5 positive ones we can get to that are going to support you. As we look at the negative factors in your brain, it starts with the judge. Everybody has the judge. This is the main character, right? The judge comes up and judges you, judges others, and judges circumstances. So typically the judge comes to us in our childhood, originally there to protect us. But what happens is that as we get older, we evolve, right? And the rules that we learned as children, they tend to evolve with us. Some stay, there's some good principles to it, but mostly they tend to evolve. But the judge doesn't evolve, stays the same. So you have this same box that you're living within, being beat up by this guy or gal or person or monster. But practically, basically, at the end of the day, being abused, which I'm not okay with. Think about some of the basic childhood rules that have gone by the wayside. I was thinking recently about not having candy before bed. And as an adult, going to a late night movie. Yeah, it's a general good rule of thumb, health, yada, yada. You try telling my 50-year-old husband he can't have a Swedish fish at night. You're going to see a tantrum bigger than a 3-year-old. Right? Things change, things evolve. We're allowed to make different decisions. But the judge is going to beat you up for it. Usually comes with a main message. And again, originally came to protect you, but doesn't serve you anymore. So for example, the main message that my judge gives me is, it's all my fault. It's really painful. So start to think about, what do you think your judge is saying to you? But the judge doesn't work alone. They come with 9 accomplices. And so what's going to happen is that most people, we've got 2 or 3 top ones, right? Sometimes they all come out to play, but 2 or 3 top ones. And we tend to think that they're helping us, that they're protecting us, that they're motivating us. But the truth of the matter is that they are born out of these innate characteristics within you. And so those are the gifts that you want to hang on to. But they hurt you when they're overused. Hyperachiever is a great one to think about because we're ambitious. And in the States, this is the #1 saboteur. This is the #1 thing that people are plagued with because we're bred that way. We are ambitious here. We are driven. We achieve. But the difference between achieving, which is great, accomplishing goals, doing all of that, yes, and hyperachiever is when you can't celebrate your wins anymore. Nothing feels good enough. You keep moving the end of the race. You finish something, but you've got to do another thing. There's no joy in that. It's truly based on conditional love. It feeds into that. This is not all doom and gloom. I am telling you this because I want you to be aware. When we start with understanding and seeing, we can create change. But if you don't see it, you're just spinning in circles. So how do we create change? Well, this is the beautiful thing. We can build new neural pathways in our brains because of neuroplasticity. And we can do this just 10 seconds at a time of mindfulness. Isn't that amazing? So much research has been done around mindfulness that when you have a consistent practice, MRI scans have shown it increases the gray matter in your prefrontal cortex. It increases functionality in your hippocampus, your anterior cingulate cortex, and your insula. And all of these spaces are helping with calm, with wisdom, with being connected to your intuition, with better decision-making, with confidence, with conflict resolution, and with feeling into your body, which when you do that, then you can recognize what's actually happening with you physically and also be more present. So I get it. You're like, mindfulness, really? But let me tell you a little bit more about it. So I have a client whose #1 saboteur is pleaser. She is kind and wonderful and giving, and those are beautiful things. And this pleaser gets in the way because it took over her life in a way that she could not say no to the people she loved. So much so that her life became intertwined in their business, in their homes, so that if she were to say no to one thing, when she looked at it, her entire life felt like a house of cards, that everything would just fall apart. So when we started this work together, I remember I didn't give her 10 seconds at a time. I gave her 2 minutes at a time, 2 minutes, 3 times a day. But she didn't have 2 minutes. I said, what happened to your 2 minutes? Somebody knocked on the door. And this wasn't little kids knocking on the door, which my trick for that, anybody with kids, is to go to the bathroom. But this wasn't little kids. These were grown-ass adults knocking on the door. But she couldn't set a boundary. It felt so uncomfortable to just say no and to allow herself 2 minutes. And these were so deeply seated in there. But with the continuous work, within 3 months, she was able to start setting boundaries. Within 6 months, was able to say, I can see myself finding my dream. and is now comfortable actually saying no and carving out time. It's still a work. It's still something that has to be reminded of, but the process, the practice works. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's worth it. So when we hear the word mindfulness, it's big, and it can mean so many different things. For the sake of our time here together, let's relate it to connecting to our senses, because it is a physical act that I want you to do. When we do that act, that's the help. That's the part of it that creates your presence, that creates new neural pathways. So we're going to take a mindfulness break. Not knowing where all of you are, whether you're in public or not, I'm not going to ask you to close your eyes. What I am going to ask you to do, though, is to do a visual moment of mindfulness. So I want you to look at something in front of you. And I want you to focus on just one piece of that something. It could be a spot on the wall. It could be a lamp. It could be a plant. Whatever that something is. To really look at it and just notice. Notice the colors, the different shades. Notice the textures. Just spend some time noticing the details. And in just that, in just 10 seconds at a time, that's one example of how to do this. You can create change, lasting change, to quiet that noise. So let's start talking a little bit deeper about defining your dreams. The warning signs, I want you to look out for the I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when we move. I'll be happy when my kid gets out of this school year. The I'll be happy when is dangerous. And that can get in your way. And it's a lie. It's a lie that you're telling yourself, that your noise is saying to you, I'll be happy when. That's not real. You say things like, when this happens, I'll finally have time to. Will you? Because oftentimes, when something that you think is getting in your way, something that feels like a time suck is getting in your way, you end up finding another way to waste your day away. So you're always going to be finding ways to not focus on you. Then one of the things I want you to think about is the story of don't want. This is incredibly important. So when we start to think about what we want, we immediately think of what we don't want. Now, remember, I told you 80% of our thoughts are negative. This is natural. You're wired to do this. But think about it. You're looking for a new job. Well, I don't want to have a boss that micromanages. What do you want? You're looking for a new relationship. You are definitely going to be thinking of the last bad date you had, or the person that broke your heart, and bring up all the don't wants. So know that this is natural, but let's look at it as part of the process. Because if you think about that don't want act, it's giving you information. Let's use it as that. That's all it is. It's information. It's teaching you something. So the power is getting through the don't want, looking at it, and then transforming it to create something you do want. And we're going to get really granular on this. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to ask a brave soul to volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Yay. All right, Jenny, thank you so much for volunteering. So here's what I want to think about. Jenny, if we were to test a dream of yours, what dream can we bring to life today?
My dream is to build a multi-million-dollar empire called the Empowered Woman.
I love that. All right, so tell me more about this empire.
It has a healing and educational component. I wrote a book called Empowered, The Woman's Guide to Following Your Heart. There's a companion workbook that goes with that and a journal. I just launched actually yesterday, 100 Days of You, the Tribe, which is a course, a 100-day course that I'm now doing as a group program. Because so much of what I love about what you share and your message and what you and I have connected over is that connection, is that bond, is that kind of shared experience. So I have the educational piece of it, which I guess is more like the coaching and the speaking and just that aspect of it. I also, and I've always envisioned like a merchandise line. So like my book is 100 guiding truths. Every page is a standalone page. One example is like endure rejection. Another one is believe in the magic, which I always think about you. Have big dreams whenever the Dream Factory, which by the way is like my favorite title ever. Have big dreams. So I just envision like women walking around the world with these like cozy hooded sweatshirts with have big dreams, like endure rejection, and then like wine glasses and coasters and just I really believe in these 100 truths that I think have really shaped my life. And so I just see them as little connectors and truths. And what are you feeling today? Oh, I'm going through rejection. I'm putting on that endure my rejection sweatshirt. So it's really centered around these 100 truths of this book. And as I said, the coaching inspirational part of it, then this other sort of products part of it.
Amazing. Okay, congratulations on the launch. That's fantastic. I'm really excited for you. All right. I
Oh,
love
can I
that.
add one more thing, sorry.
Yeah, please.
And the other piece is conferences, because nothing brings me greater joy than bringing women together. Like I love one-on-one and I love holding the space, but I love connecting a woman to her dreams and then connecting her to a group of women that are going to be her ride or dies.
Mm. All right, so this is hot. So you've done an amazing job having some details around this, which is great. So what I hear though is this community aspect, whether it is the group part or the conference part, is something that really brings it to life. So maybe which one do you want to spend some time with?
Let's do the group thing because I feel
Okay.
like that's more like relevant for me right now.
Okay, done. All right, so tell me what excites you about the group part.
Connection. I think that there's this woman, my friend wrote this book called The Light Work by Jessica Zweig. I looked at an Instagram post of her yesterday and she said, our ideal client is who we were 5 years ago. And I think we all in this space, you are your own avatar and things like that. But I really took, okay, who was I 5 years ago? And I was struggling with depression. I felt suicidal. I was isolated. I was lonely. I was overwhelmed. I just really felt lonely on my journey of trying to figure it out. I was becoming a step parent and a partner. Like I was just completely overwhelmed and felt completely on my own about how to manage the struggle or what I was really going through. And so I think that element, I used to be an actress, and I think the drive for me to be an actress was the same, so that people don't feel alone in whatever they're going through.
Amazing. All right, so what I love about that is the passion that comes with it, right? And it's such a beautiful way to take what you've been through and create that change. So all the things that you went through are things you don't want people to feel, right? So let's see if we can create some change around that. So you went through depression. How do you want people to feel?
I love this. You're really doing the don't want and flipping it. You're like, usually, I love this. You're genius. I want people to feel connected. I want people to feel free. I want people to feel excited about their life. I want people to feel supported and aligned with the ship. This is my life, and it's the life I was meant to live. Whether you want to paint or climb mountains or be a parent or I don't know, make shoes, like whatever I feel like we each have this passion. And when we're each aligned with it, I just think you can see it, you can feel it, and it brings such meaning to your life.
Amazing. All right, so when you've got your women in this group, let's say there's, I don't know, 5, how many people do you want?
I think I'd like 20 is the number that just came to me.
20, great. 20 women, and you watch these 20 women start to feel aligned, start to feel connected, to feel supported, to feel joy, to see possibility. How will you feel?
Like I matter, like my life has a purpose. I'm able to create change and make a difference. And I also think, as you shared, that somehow all of the struggles I've gone through will have had a purpose and a reason. And I think I've done a lot of work to make peace with those and accept how painful and challenging they were, that they were there for a reason to refine who I am, but also enable me to connect to more people that like excited.
Okay. All right. So all of those things, yes. So let's think about the excitement. You're walking down the street and you're thinking about these women and the beautiful testimonials that they've written and the exciting ways that they're seeing their lives now and maybe big changes that they've made. What's that emotion that comes to you?
So much freaking pride in myself that I didn't give up on my dream.
So the pride in yourself. And so how does that change your everyday life?
Oh my God. I would get off my own back. I would chill out. I would stop like yelling at myself all the time in my head. I would stop doubting myself. Okay, that's the negative. I'm supposed to flip it. I would just feel full of self-love, like to just feel like I did it. Like I had a dream and I went for it. And it's been like a way harder journey and still is than I anticipated, but I didn't give up on myself.
So if you are feeling all of this self-love, how does that flow into your relationships?
Oh my God, it would be my boyfriend would be so grateful that he didn't have to spend all the time like stop being so hard on yourself, stop being so hard on yourself. I would just be freer and more joyful. And I feel like self-doubt and I don't know, self-doubt and lack of confidence can be two weights that are like weighing me down. And I would just cut those. And I always like to me, the visual is feel free and to feel like I can fly.
Okay, that's amazing. So it's this Jenny in flight, right? And
Yeah.
would it be fair to say that your relationship with your partner would have kind of a increase in playfulness and lightness and gratitude?
Yeah. And I think like my self-doubt and I have these big dreams and I'm not there yet is a weight in our relationship, right? It's like my boyfriend, we've been together with two kids, like he believes in me still, but it's draining. I can feel it. So it's so funny. The sun just broke through the clouds and is now shining. This is the power of you, Jackie. It's so funny. It's such a foreign concept to be full of self-love that I'm like, I'm not sure what that would feel like.
100%. But, and I love that. So Jenny, thank you so much. You did amazing. So that's what we want to do. And what was that experience like for you? Was it difficult to get out of negative?
It really was like, and I do this, like, I'm a life coach. This is what I do. And I still was like, oh, wow. Yeah, no, I don't want people to feel that way. And I don't want to feel that. And I don't know. I think there's a fear in feeling these positive emotions because it's like, I think for me, I've been through traumatic experiences. So I'm a little bit hypersensitive and like PTSD, where I'm like, I don't want to go back there, have that happen again. So I'll just like, run defense on anything. Look at this light. This is crazy. This is like insane. Rather than, oh no, I'm going to like completely run offense on 7,000 touchdowns of my dreams.
Mhm. Absolutely. And thank you so much. You were incredibly brave. I appreciate you volunteering. And I'm going to give you a space back. I'm going to put you all in gallery. And what I'm going to say is that you're going to have some time right now. So I want you to open up your workbook. And we're going to go into what I call dream bubbles. And so in the dream bubble, the reason I call it this, if you remember blowing bubbles as a kid, it was like the one sport that I'm really good at. But you do this, and there's this playfulness that goes with it. There are these moments of awe, right? And you don't sit there, if a bubble breaks, you don't think, I'm really bad at this. You might have a moment, but then you just get the wand out and you go again. And it's fun and it's silly and it's magical and it's beautiful. And there's just ease that goes with it. So that's what I want for you in this space. When it comes to the negative noise, just let me just backtrack for a hot second because I realized I didn't tell you. I'm going to provide you with a link so that you can do an assessment and figure out your top areas of negative noise, but you'll figure that out later. Go to page 2 of your workbook and let's spend some time with Dream Bubble. So I'm going to give you just 5 minutes to at least get started there. I'll put myself on mute. All right, as we're coming to a close, I want to ask for a volunteer to share something that came up. Blair, yes, please.
Happy holidays, everybody. Okay, this is gonna sound funny. This is gonna sound so silly. But the first thing I can't get out of my head as it relates to a dream bubble is having time that's free, right? It sounds very trite, having free time, right? and the first thing I thought of is I just remember in college being always having free time. It was just so free flowing. It was just so effortless. What brought me to that was I got three boys, they're wifey, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's got what takes the little pieces of time. But what popped in my head was the new Snoop Dr. Dre album just came out, right? And it made me nostalgic to college of me listening to this thing. And I was in my car and on a sunny day, just listening to the original Dre. And I'm living in Chicago, I'm on Lakeshore Drive, and I'm listening to this thing. And just the freedom of the curse words of just being, because I have kids in the back, or I've had kids forever in the back, right? And so just to listen to music doesn't even matter about the music, what it is, what genre or whatever, but just the ability to enjoy the song without being interrupted, somebody having something to say about it. I just want the freedom to be and enjoy something, right? I don't have to have someone's opinion about it, whether it be a next door neighbor who thinks it's too loud, some kids, or some considerations. And that's what the dream bubble is to me. Like, where in
Mhm.
my life am I just able to just not selfishly be not consider anybody else, but just to just do something that on a beautiful day and not have to consider anybody else. Does that make something? Is that crazy?
Yes, it's amazing.
Is that crazy? And I'm not trying to say I'm inconsiderate, and I'm not trying to say that, you know what I'm saying? We're adults now, and there's a time to do this and a time to do that. You know what I'm saying? Within consideration. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I can't wait to do something hurtful or ambivalent or anything like that. It's not what I'm talking about. Or anti anybody else. Just the peacefulness we had as youth to put a dope song on and not be interrupted with somebody else's thought. I just don't remember back in the day everybody having something to say. We're just so plugged into what everybody's got to say and this blah 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 of what's happening right now. We have the weather. I'd never thought about the weather. Now we got branded weather storms every 2 minutes that's going to destroy life. Like, when did it get that so complicated? When did the weather get so complicated? We got a Arctic vortex. No, fool. We just live in Chicago. It's cold. You know what I mean? It's just, to me, everything is just getting so complex, and I feel manipulated. And how do I flip it, like you said earlier, to when can I manipulate the saboteur? You know what I'm saying? When can I get into a realm of enjoyment that's sustained to re-energize and it not cost me $100,000? You know what I'm saying? Or another massage or another something. You know what I mean? It takes away from the original point of enjoyment.
Yeah.
That is my spiel for 2, 3 minutes. I give my time to whoever the next senator is on this panel.
Oh,
Um,
Blair, I so want to celebrate that because you really encompassed as you started that feeling of, I love how you said freedom and time freedom and joy of just, I'm going to enjoy my song. I'm going to enjoy listening to this album. And it's just me time. And then what I want to just bring to your awareness, which is normal and real, is there was almost a justification. I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm not trying to, for sure not. You're a wonderful human being. We err on the side that most people are wonderful human beings. And anybody in my space certainly is. I have values and I cut them off. They're not. So you're a wonderful human being. And you have that noise that's happening in your head saying, maybe I'm selfish if I want to do this. Maybe I'm saying people are going to think that I'm not caring about all the other people. And I'm not trying to say, fuck them kids. Like, I'm not trying to do that, even though we can sometimes, right? Instead, what I'm trying to say is I am worthy of enjoying my music and just being immersed in it. Wouldn't that feel amazing? And
Yeah,
maybe it starts with some of that.
yeah. It's just I don't need the dramatic. Wait till you said something really interesting about wait till I get to this. Wait till I finish this or I get to there. I don't have to be in Bali. I don't have to be to a beach, right? It's not even to that extent of let me get away. Because wherever you are, there you are, right? I've been on
Yeah.
vacation and been miserable, right? And it's just, I think that it's so subtle. Saboteurs is so subtle. I can't listen to a whole album, right? That's how fast they come in. And it's just, I use it as a great metaphor to, I want to have more courage to make more space for myself. And people keep saying everything is so trite. Everyone has these little cute little things, these little phrases and stuff that people say and stuff like that. Everybody's got something to say, right? And that's not what I'm trying to say. I want to share with Jenny. Jenny said something I think that was very powerful. That she gets a sense of elation from the camaraderie of it, from the camaraderie of the woman, the sisterhood. I'm sorry, I'm putting probably maybe paraphrasing here, but there's a
It's
joy
great.
that she receives from the commonality that she's creating with women.
Mhm.
And there's a joy, a pure joy in that. I equate it to the joy I feel when me and my Morehouse brothers are together, who is your husband is one of my Morehouse brothers. And
He's right.
there's a absolute joy in just being and doing stuff for each other that we didn't even understand about 3 decades ago of how good that would feel.
Yeah.
And how do you sustain those the little bits of joy that are true, that are honest, that sustain us, that bridge us through moment to moment, time to time. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%, Blair. Thank you. And you're right. And that's part of the work, the practice, the simple but not easy, continually doing this. So before we
That
move
kind
on,
of
I
keeps
would
you
love to
in
hear if
it.
there's, oh, I'm sorry.
So that kind of keeps you in that sage, right? They try to keep to get you above the saboteurs, I
Exactly.
guess.
Exactly. So that we can quiet that, so we can feel that peace, that ease, that joy, the wisdom, all of those things in extended periods of time. Like you said, we can stretch it out and make it last into those moments where you want to pull your hair out, but you're not gonna, because you can tap back into that. All right, anybody else? Love to hear about your dream bubble experience. Okay.
I just want to say, I just love the term dream bubble. I'm like, oh, I can't remember the last time I got to talk about dreams and bubbles. So I just want to like, I feel like I am the teacher and the leader, right? I create this. I'm just want to say I'm so grateful to be able to sit in this space of like your magic and dream a little bit and have it be fun and playful. And Blair, I completely relate to even this morning, I was like, joy, like that's my word for next year. Not that, but I just want to say thank you, Jackie, because it's like that childlike playfulness. And I have 2 kids and a husband. Like, it's just like everyone else can need something from you. And I just so love just the way you help us to connect to that childhood joy and give us the permission to dream. I just feel like everything can be so overthought these days. Like I'll post it on social media and it's like, well, what's your dream in little bubbles? I just want to say thank you. And I just think you're amazing.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm taking that and I'm receiving it fully in my heart. Thank you. Cindy, I see you. Did you want to share or you just want to show us your presence, which we are happy to see?
Thank you for that. That's very kind. But I do have this dream bubble, and I've had it since I was a kid for my whole life. And I don't know how it's ever really going to come true for realsy, but pockets, it's always there, and pockets of it come true. So what I wrote down was my dream bubble is creating stories with photography, with writing, with video, stories that resonate with people. They inspire them, empower them, they motivate, educate, inform, or maybe just make someone smile. And I've lived in this space as the creator and as the creator who shared the stories and then shared all of this wonderful feedback and how this connects. And the work makes me feel alive doing it, every aspect of the process. And the work makes me feel alive when other people connect to it and it comes to life in a whole other way. And so the dream is being able to be in that space, not only as creating the work, because that's the thing that lights me up, everything about a research or an interview or the creativity or putting it together, but it's also connecting with people. It's my way of connecting with people, and it's a way of people connecting. And I love that. And it's building community, it's starting conversations. And the dream is to be able to do this as my life, as my livelihood, something that's sustainable, creating the I know the place where I thrive and where I'm super happy. My negative saboteur is why I can't afford to do that because I haven't figured that out in all this time. And there's a whole other left side I could go off on about the real life challenges of being a starving artist. So I have not figured that part out of it, which is the other side of it's my demon bubble. But my dream bubble is just living in that space. I am a creator, I'm a connector, I connect with people. And I guess the only other thing I can add to that is why I think that's important beyond feeling a certain thriving aspect and connecting with people is I think connecting with people creates tolerance.
100%.
I use that word specifically because there's a lot of times where I read news or hear things and I get so upset about it. I almost can't talk about it. I almost feel paralyzed. And I'm an adult. I should be able to talk about things, but I feel just very upset about, I think, where I feel there's violence in the world, there's negative talk, there's actions against people. There's a lot of things that are intolerance. And anytime I've spoken about this, about creating work and stories that I'm not trying to say they're like super positive, happy, but they are positive stories, but they're just connecting people. It creates a sense of tolerance. And every time I say that, people are like, oh, I don't know if I'd say that. And I'm like, that's exactly what I should say because of your reaction. That's exactly what the point of it is. It's just create connections. You can't really hate everybody and be hating people. And then you've got one friend. The door's been open, isn't it? I hate this group except for so-and-so.
Oh, he's cool. Yeah.
Guess what? I just blew a hole in your story because you like that one person, so let's talk. Or when I've traveled a little bit, so how can I tell stories about other cultures and present them to other cultures or other people? And I've seen it happen in my own storytelling and my own work, but it's something that I'd like to do as my livelihood.
Cindy, there's so much goodness in this. So I want to ask you a couple of questions and just validate something that you said that I think was really important. You said the word starving artist, that phrase, and how many of us heard that. That is a common phrase, right? And what does that do is that just rings in your head. But you also said, I'm a creator, communicator, I'm a storyteller. And all of those are so much more positive, but yet starving artist is probably like neon lights.
It is the single thing holding me back because I can't figure out how to make this something sustainable as opposed to why don't I have a corporate job and then be an artist at night or on weekends? That doesn't work for me. I'm not a weekend. I'm not a weekender here. I'm all in 24/7, all in.
Yeah.
And that's what I haven't figured out is how to how to earn a living because I also don't want to I've also been in a position of dipping my toe into this and didn't really have all the answers or the resources. And I found myself doing much more business to try and get the work than actually doing the work. And I don't want to be in a position where I'm resenting the thing that I love because I'm not earning an income from it. And so I consciously put it on the side and said, I guess I do have to have that corporate career because I got to pay my bills and I'll do it wherever I can. And then I found pockets of time to do it. And it's not enough, but I still don't have the answer. But it's not enough. But when I do it, I love it. I do it exactly the way I need to do it, and I love it. But I want this to be my life full time. So this is my ongoing challenge and anxiety in some respect, because the thing that I love to do isn't the thing that I'm doing in the capacity that I need.
Of course. And of course, that's going to be devastating. And of course, we have to survive. And we are in a capitalist society and we live in the States where everything gets more and more expensive. And of course, and what it sounds like is as you're creating this, all of those don't wants need to be listed out to flip, to transform and understand what you do. You had this beautiful statement. You started this and you said, it makes me feel alive.
Yeah.
What does alive feel like?
I don't need to eat. I don't need to sleep. I don't need to pee. don't need to exercise. I don't need to go outside. And I will never say those things. I need and want to do all those things, but they disappear. I'm in it.
Okay,
I
so
would-
we followed up alive with a whole lot of don'ts. So what if being alive, if I'm hearing you, is immersed, excited, inspired, motivated,
Yeah.
in love with what your days look like?
Yeah. When I was traveling, when I was meeting people, when I was telling stories about their culture, about lifestyle, creating traveling photo exhibits, leading storytelling events with these different international audiences, everything about that hit every single button and buttons I didn't know I had. And it was living in the space that I'm telling you. I just don't know how to find that job. I was doing that as my own project for as a couple years and I sustained it, but that was very unique circumstances. That wasn't real. Yes, it was my life, but it wasn't like my life for the future. It was a pocket that I had carved out. I still prove my concept. So I
And
don't
that's
know how to,
beautiful.
I don't
So
know how to get that job, but that's what I want to do.
oh, I love that. I think that tapping into that alive feeling, that immersion, that inspiration is one of the ways to really expand on that bubble. So I'm so grateful. And when we share, by the way, when we use our voice to share what these dreams are, it adds power to them, right? Because it can be really scary to do that. But there's power and courage and all of that in what you've all shared here. So I'm going to move you back. I'm going to share my screen again. I want to talk about the power of this because it might feel like pie in the sky and isn't Jackie silly with her bubbles? And sure, right? But this is a way to get yourself to visualize. We don't all visualize the same. You often hear that, visualize this, visualize that, make your vision board. I'm not a vision board person. I don't like paper around my house. There's never going to be something on my wall that doesn't align with my style and the interior design that we keep here, right? It's just not going to happen. But this is helping you to visualize. A study was done of college athletes, these basketball players. They were separated into 3 groups. They were given this free throw test, right? Then they had 30 days. And in that 30 days, group 1 had to go practice their free throws. Let's say 30 minutes every day, 30 days. Group 2 didn't practice, but instead they spent that time visualizing, making those free throws. Group 3 did nothing. No practice, no visualizing, nothing. 30 days later, they came back and were tested again. Group 1, who practiced every day, increased their skills by 24%. Group 3, who did nothing, stayed the same. And group 2, who simply visualized, increased by 23%, 1% less than the people who practiced. That is the power of visualization. Now, I have a client who, when we did this together, it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've seen. She spent 20 years in an abusive marriage, 2 years going through a complicated custody battle with her abuser, and finally was able to say, you know what, I feel like I might be able to date. But the idea of dating still felt really terrifying, if you can imagine. And so we did this together. And what happened was she was able to start seeing him more clearly, imagining a life together, imagining how he's going to make her friends laugh and feel at ease, but know that if she's tired and wants to go home, it's time to go, down to those details, to where she said, I can feel hope for this. I can see him. It feels real. I can see it actually happening for me. That's why we do this. So I told you I want you to be able to create your own dream factory. We need to first understand what's going to get in the way. And some of you have already brought it up, right? So what starts getting in the way is the things that we tell ourselves. And maybe it is pressure that we're putting on ourselves to do something a certain way. I need to use my free time to do the dishes so that I can support the person in my house that needs my support. I need to use my free time to work out. That feels good. My free time needs to be used, should be used on something that is money making, on something that's moving the needle, on being more productive. We're going to find all sorts of ways to get in our own way. The brain resists change. But then the second question that I'm going to have you ponder is, who gets in your way? Now, this could be intentional or unintentional. I love the idea that people are not nefarious villains in our lives, right? But oftentimes, for example, whether it's in your personal or professional life, you might have somebody who weaponizes incompetence. They can't do it, so I need to help them. I have to do it for them. They're never going to be able to do it. I have to do it. That's my role. I do it. Really? Are you sure? Maybe you're a caregiver, right? And then you're thinking, I'm a caregiver to my parents. And if I use this time on me, if I try to do something for me that isn't running an errand or work related or kid related or whatever responsible adult thing related, I'm going to seem selfish. They're going to think that I don't care about them. If I don't play this 10th game with my kid, I'm a bad parent. So there's people in our lives that are influencing us and creating these messages. It could be current, it could be old memories. When I was maybe 6, I was at the pediatrician's office with my dad. And I remember he pinched my stomach and said, if you can pinch more than an inch, you've got to lose weight. I could do a whole workshop on this, but you've always been able to pinch more than an inch on me. That messaging is, if I have free time, I should use it to work on my body, to change what I'm eating, to cook something healthier, to figure out a way to spend more money on organic foods or whatever that narrative is going to be. So I want you to spend a few minutes in your workbook about what gets in your way and who gets in your way. So I'm going to mute myself and give you a few minutes. All right. If anybody wants to tell us a little bit about what they uncovered and what's going to get in their way. Tiffany, hello.
I was just thinking because just before this call, I took a walk and I was listening to this book on tape about self-compassion and so like thoughts and beliefs. And I just think that, and it was talking about like negative self-talk, which is something that I've been trying to overcome for a little bit. And it said sometimes negative self-talk is like a defense mechanism and it's our other self trying to help us, but it actually does more harm than good. And so I thought about this when answering like the thoughts, beliefs, feelings. Sometimes I feel like I tell myself I don't have time, or even with money, either I don't have enough money or I need to use my money for something else. And it's trying to help me, but it's really not, right? It's like preventing me from living my dreams or doing what I really think I should be doing. Or
100%. And recognizing that
Mhm.
is powerful because you know what's coming and it pops up and you're like, oh, there you are again.
And even sometimes I know like my negative self-talk or those beliefs are like irrational and not true. I know that like deep down, but in some ways I still keep like telling myself that.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's not just a work in progress. People say that to me a lot. And they're like, I'm a work in progress. We all are, right? This is life. It's our wiring and we can create that change, yet it's also still going to fight us. I will tell you that I had a moment, even a month ago, where someone was trying to give me something and it was really nice, but I couldn't see the gift. Somehow I actually literally blocked it out of my vision. And it was like I wasn't able to receive goodness and gratitude as if I didn't deserve it. And it took me by surprise. Similar to what Jenny was saying earlier, like I do this and I consistently do the work, but these are moments. And we can create that change within ourselves and bring us back to center and even bring us to a brighter side because of it. So thank you for being really brave. One of the reasons it's so important to think about messaging from other people is to be mindful of who you share your dreams with. And this is another thing to think about because, like I mentioned, 80% of our thoughts are negative. We're all walking around like negativity machines, which means that the people who aren't creating that change might not be able to bounce back the positive your way that you need, might not be able to hold your dream in a way that is encouraging and safe, and instead can feed the doubts. Are you sure you should be spending your money on this? Are you sure that you should use your time in this way? How are you going to do that? I love that one. How are you going to do that? As a business owner, what I've learned along the way, because we get that question a lot. Had people ask me how much money I'm making. I'm not asking them how much money they're making. If you're asking how, it better be because you have an idea to contribute. Otherwise, nobody's how is any of your business. But think about that when it comes to sharing, recognizing the space that feels good to you, being protective of it, because this is something beautiful. Just like your energy is something beautiful. And people need to be worthy of your time and energy. Any thoughts anywhere else?
I'll share quickly procrastination due to perfectionism, definitely. Like I'm waiting for it to be perfect to do it. Fear of rejection, giving up free time, relying on other people rather than just trusting my own instinct. And people like these invisible group of women that I fear that aren't going to sign up for the program or aren't going to sign up for the conference or aren't like, it's a negative again. And then as we talked about earlier today, like past friends that no, because I struggled, how can I possibly be empowered? But then being like, I am empowered. The definition of empowered woman is like a woman who rises again and again.
Oh, I'm just feeling into that, by the way.
Obliterate all of those.
I love it. I love that. So I want you to think about overcoming all of that, right? So how do we do that? We're going to go back to the beginning of retraining our brain. We're going to go back to our 10 seconds of mindfulness, 10 seconds at a time, creating a consistent practice to be able to do that. And if you have luxury of time, if it's 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, all of that is helpful. So to give you another tool, I want you to just, wherever you are, just notice the weight of your body on your seat. If you're standing, notice it on your feet. Notice the contact points. Just start to pay attention. And that simple noticing brings you back into your body, gets you out of your head, into your body, builds new neural pathways. In the moment, it supports your calm and your presence. And your presence is key. In addition to that, I want you to think about setting up your sanctuary. Now, today, here, this is an example of one sanctuary created, a container created for you to dream and to have your dreams supported and lifted up. Where else could that be? I'm a city dweller, and we're in a 2-bedroom apartment in Boston. I have different chairs I go to. Legit. I know that there's a chair over by the window that I like to sit in to meditate. I know that if I'm going to work, there's a place where I sit to do that. I know if I'm going to watch a movie, there's a place that I sit to do that. If I'm going to read my book, I might sit in the other chair over there. What does this space look like to you? Or is it outside of your home? Let's start thinking about at least 2 accessible places that feel safe for you, safe and peaceful to do this dreaming work. So just take 1 minute and think about that. And you can write notes in your workbook. All right, I'm going to ask for another brave volunteer. We're going to do some idea generation. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Cindy, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, give me something that you want to take action on.
I want to figure out how I can bring the creativity into the work that I'm doing. I just painted a picture. It doesn't have to be a certain way. I've done it different ways. The last way I did it that you know about was my dream job. It doesn't have to be that. That would be great, but I'm in the health and wellness space and I'm very committed to that and I'm in love with that space. And I don't know what this looks like, but it's another version of what I've been doing that if I can figure out a way to bring this creativity to life in this space, that would be a good option for me. I've still been in the mindset of I know what makes me tick, put it out there and see what comes. I keep asking, it hasn't come yet. So I can keep trying to think of ways, but I also don't want to force something that's not going to be appropriate or not really going to work out. I want to find something. I'm fine to figure it out, but I want to find what that is and figure it out. I don't want to force something that I think is going to work because the universe and other people probably have something much more interesting in mind. So I want to manifest that. I want to manifest the opportunity.
Okay, amazing. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to let improv be our guide and we're going to play some yes and.
Okay.
So here's the deal. I know that this comes with excitement, but it also comes with a lot of anxiety and stress and frustration, right?
Honestly, the only anxiety honestly, really, in my heart, the only anxiety is I'm on my own and I need to pay the bills. That's the only anxiety is like, how am I going to pay the bills?
That's a big one, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And so that's what I'm focused on is how I'm going to pay the bills. And
right.
it's not always the creative thing because that's not always the most lucrative thing.
Okay. So let's try this two ways because I think it'll be interesting. So here are the rules of the game. There is no negative, right? So we are going to throw out some ideas and I'll throw something out. And rather than sitting and saying, that's not going to work because, or I don't really like that, or maybe, but this, instead, you're going to say, what I like about this is, and you're going to find something positive. And you're going to say, and it makes me think of, and you're going to come up with something new.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what that something new is. Okay. And we can be silly about it. So let's start with paying the bills. Cindy, when I think about you paying the bills, I think that you should put on a Rainbow Bright costume and go to Times Square and be Rainbow Bright.
You know what I love about that? People can make fun of me and take my picture and pay me $20 to take my picture while they're visiting Times Square. And I'm going to hold up I love New York sign.
And what does it make you think of?
Makes me think of cartoons when I was growing up as a kid and how I liked cartoons. Makes me think of another way of connecting with people. It makes me think of I love New York and I feel alive there.
Mm.
I feel like other people are going to laugh at me and with me because I'm laughing from both sides.
Amazing. Okay. So what I like about that is your joy in the moment. You're feeling alive and feeling connected to people. And it makes me think of doing some work at a community center.
Never thought about that.
So now you find something positive.
I worked at a community center in New York with kids, and I was leading them in photography projects. I was a volunteer. We walked around the city and we shot, and I helped them see and take pictures. I actually did it a couple times. I had a job with a school there. And the community center was a volunteer thing in my neighborhood. And I was in like the after school arts program with the community center. And these kids were like into it. And so I told them some stuff about photography and they took pictures and we looked at pictures. And at the school, we actually printed their pictures and hung them up in the wall. So we had the whole walk through the neighborhood in the walls of the school. So I love that.
Okay. So you love that. What did you like about that?
I was doing what I love and I was connecting with kids. And there was many moments where I would see the light bulb go on and I just stopped talking.
What
My
does it make you think of?
I watched them process this and they got it and they like did their art thing. And that was just incredibly fulfilling.
I love it. What does it make you think of?
I guess probably maybe some of my own moments of finding something in creativity or being inspired by creativity or seeing a connection to arts that's not necessarily the spoken word, but the feelings that you get from it or a way of communicating with art and photography. I saw that in those kids, something that I enjoy in connecting with adults and other people, but also something that connects with me in that. So it was very like being part of the greater humanity because then I wasn't just teaching kids. That was a part-time teaching job. It was like being part of life, inspiring, educating, opening eyes, and feeling I love that. I love that I was able to be part of that. And I love that that kid had that experience and saw something, even for a moment, that was a little bit different or unexpected through art.
So what I like about that is it seems like it taps into your creativity and also provides a different level of fulfillment. And it
Mhm.
makes me think of being an art teacher at an elementary school.
I had an art teacher when I was going to school, and I always took the art class. I was in the after school class. In fact, my art teacher in high school is the one that helped me get to art school. So I love that. Some kids did after school sports. I did after school art club. I love that.
Amazing. All right.
Becky, you're so smart.
Thank you.
Tapped into all the things.
And so now if you think about making money outside of this big goal, does it feel less money?
Temporarily it does, but when it comes time to pay the bills, I still got to come up with the number. I have to be conscious of my reality. It seems, yes, maybe this is another revenue stream I could add on to, but I do want to be able to manage like multiple.
I'm going to stop you for a second and I'm going to cut you right off because
Yeah.
here's what's happening again. I understand that there's logic. I'm not telling you logic isn't there.
Okay.
But what I'm telling you is it doesn't have to be this idea. But as you're in this process of generating an idea, there's possibility and there's excitement. And what that does is that opens up windows for other things to come your way. It opens up a space in your mind to see something differently,
Okay. Okay. I see.
right? That's something that can be done on your own. It's a little more difficult, right? Can be done with others. I will tell you that I took a startup company, their executive team through this, and it was amazing because I was watching all of these IT guys help the CMO create a marketing strategy. I have done this on my own in my business, and I've also done this with my husband when we've had to attack really scary tax season things and bill paying things. And part of it is the silliness of it. Because what it did is it took away the hard part of having the conversation. It took away the weight of the things that are stressing us. And then it opened it up to say, okay, we've both thrown out some ideas. And some of these could really work. And some of these might not. But man, we laughed and wasn't that good. And so now it's a little bit lighter. And we can revisit it. And it doesn't have to be this weight.
Yeah, that's a beautiful approach. That feels so much better.
Good.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I want you to think about saying yes to possibility. Where you are right now is like a blank canvas. It is the beginning. It's possibility. It might feel like overwhelmed. Maybe today you were able to sketch something. Maybe you just put the pencil down for a little bit or picked up a paintbrush. It was the beginning. But next is where you can go. You can create a masterpiece. And so what can that look like? We spend a lot of time trying to figure out ways to do this, and we commit to ourselves saying we're going to do it. But the thing is, we don't. Trying to do it ourselves can be really debilitating. And part of what happens is like what we saw earlier when we talked about, our brains are working against us. We are built to resist change, even if it's positive change. So all of the negative noise comes out again. And we can always find a way to put our needs in the back seat. It is easy to do. It is easy to say yes to other things and say no to you. It is easy to say, I'll do this I'll put it aside. Maybe I'll miss this one day because I've got to do something else, and then never pick it back up again. It is so simple to do that.
Yeah.
That's why support is so necessary. When you have a third party for accountability, you are 96% more likely to succeed. What I do, the way I work with my clients, I use a system called Magic. And it includes all of these elements. We use mindfulness tools. We articulate your feelings because your feelings are important. We gain insight, implement new beliefs, and then choose the life you desire because that is what you're worthy of. In my business, I work to empower ambitious women of color and allies to reclaim their time freedom, bust out of hustle culture, and be the main character of their story. So what I want to invite for you to help you and guide along that time is to take advantage of a dream strategy session. So we're going to do a dream factory strategy session. It is 30 minutes. It's your next step to continue the work that we've done here and create some more practical strategies. It's only available for you the next 2 weeks. This is something I don't offer. It's only for people in the workshop. And I even open times on Saturdays, which I never, ever do because I have time boundaries. But I want to be mindful of the time of year that we're in and allow you the space and grace and know that you're worthy of it. So that's your next step forward, to care for you, to do these things for you. Because when you work with someone, when you actually have a coach with you, you gain psychological capital. And that looks like confidence, resilience, stronger decision-making, better conflict management, optimism, and hope. Gallup has done a survey of Americans' life satisfaction since 1979. 2020 is the lowest year of life satisfaction for Americans in history. And you want to know, the highest year was 2020. It took a global pandemic for us to feel satisfied with our lives. And my theory is because we had to slow down, we had more gratitude, and we're really intentional. And we spent time dreaming, even if it was dreaming to go to our favorite bar again. So that's what you're worthy of. I am grateful for your time here today. Thank you for joining.